Okay, namaste. Uh, we will continue where we left off. Okay, so the question was behavioral centered public discourse. So someone asked, how can we change the public way of dealing with the things by having a public discourse? And then the answer came. So it was a quite a long answer, so we'll just continue where we left off. All our behavior with natural surroundings has to be according to law, regulation, and balance for us to find resolution. Otherwise, we become afflicted from problems there, which is our present condition. We engaged in industrial activity without right understanding, tore Earth's guts apart, and as a result, we are suffering. These problems have raised question mark on human survival on this planet. In my view, every human can become resolved irrespective of who they are and what they do. That's what is postulated in behavior-centered public discourse. Its essence is relationships, values, evaluation, and mutual satisfaction. This itself leads to our attaining all-round resolution. Economic resolution comes from understanding the cyclicity of nature. A cultured way of living is achieved through psychology of humane consciousness. Humans are units of the knowledge order, therefore, they can evidence themselves only through cognitive ability. It is about recognizing relationships, having trust in the present, living in orderliness, and evidencing coexistence. In this way, behavior centered public discourse has been postulated for comprehensive resolution. So, here, everything from economics to how the humane way of psychology has to be understood. That's what it's talking about here, right? So, quite a uh, self proclaiming way of saying that everything can be sorted with this sort of understanding, right? Then there's another question. Uh, Freud has put forth a postulation which claims that all desires of humans have a single origin and that sex people worldwide have accepted this ideology in a declared or undeclared way. However, we see that it has not resulted in a clear and resolving contemplation about humans. We have talked about psychology of humane consciousness. How will this replace Freudian psychology? How will humans achieve peace and happiness by understanding it, and how will humankind find the right direction? So the answer is every human is combined form of Jeevan and body. As has been explained, Jeevan is essentially a constitutionally complete atom. In an insentient atom itself undergoes transcendence and becomes sentient, which is Jeevan. It is then that nature achieves the grandeur of its sentient form. A constitutionally complete atom is free from molecular and gravitational bonds and is itself is its grandeur. It becomes capable of driving a body with an evolved brain through coexistence. Both body and Jivan are definite accomplishments in the course of destiny in existence. So I'll just pause here. Here, it is said that the Jivan, which drives the body, is actually again as evolved as the body itself, which is the human body here, which we are talking about. So, both body and Jivan are definite accomplishments in the course of destiny in existence. So, existence had it sort of uh, in its becoming that there would be a human being and that it would have the brain which would be able to understand uh, or communicate with Jeevan, and that the brain will be able to perform the 10 activities as if had it been transferred the knowledge with gyan, as we can say, that human beings multiply through gyan, right? So that's how we are multiplying actually, or that's how we are supposed to multiply in essence. So here the destiny of a human being is that a human being was supposed to be born, and Jeevan is the highest achievement, as in it said here, accomplishments of existence, and human being being the with the विकसित जिसको कहते हैं ना विकसित uh, mm, how do you say it, uh, basically an evolved brain, right? So that's how the Jeevan controls the body. Humans and animals are combined forms of Jeevan and body. This has been thoroughly observed and can be studied. This study focuses on understanding the status statuses of being alive, not being alive, being with Jivan and being without Jivan. The evidence of being with Jivan is understood from sensory activity. When Jivan cannot express itself through the body, or when sensory activities cease, we declare that person is no more. Death means Jivan has left the body. So this is quite straightforward. We can understand this, that whenever somebody passes, we tell them that they have passed on, and their body, the body is used, the word body is used for the remaining physical entity that is of that person. So death is proclaimed from the instant that Jivan separates from the body. We cannot call that body to be human. Human is recognized while Jivan is driving the body. Every human is a thinking entity. Animals cannot have any scope for imaginative thinking. The conscious activity in animals is only in the form of species conformity. Even if humans want to live like animals, the reach of their imaginativeness and free will goes far beyond that limit, as human thought was never contained within the pure view of the body. So, this is very important. Even if we want to stay like animals, as it was asked by Freudian way of thinking, Babaji is saying here that we have the freedom of imagination, and this is will go far and beyond that limit of the animals. So, as a human, thought was never contained within the purview of the body. It was natural for us to spread out far and wide. So, uh, as the knowledge is uh, pervasive, all pervasive, right? I mean, this is how also the Jivan represents itself through the body, and it wants to go and spread out far and wide, and it can do this through understanding and through knowledge. We, Jivan, could not be limited by the body due to this reason. We could not become satisfied and resolved by thinking within bodily limits. For the same reason, its its testimony is that we neither become social nor the indivisible society materialized. We didn't achieve universal orderliness. The orderliness of dogs is universal. Orderliness of horses is universal. And orderliness of every animal is universal. So I think by this Babaji is saying that every, not just the animals, but he's saying about all the uh, plant order and the animal order and the material order are also in orderliness, right? Why are humans so unfortunate that their orderliness cannot be universal? Each entity in existence, donkey, horse, dogs, grass, stone, iron, gems, has its use, and they are complementary to one another. How is it possible to a human and not be complementary? Okay, how is it possible to be a human and not a complementary? So again, a very uh, very thought that we should all be thinking as humans, because we are shown here, and we do indeed see how the complementarity and the intrinsic way that everything is existing without harming the other, in the essence that even if it does some harm, it is for the survival of the fittest. So again, there is the factor of continuity which is taking place in that sense. And yeah, so thinking is intrinsic to us. We humans cannot remain silent. Silencing thoughts is not in our hands. Being silent is anti nature, anti destiny, anti progress, and anti awakening. In this way, humans become antagonistic in these four ways by pursuing silence. Antagonism naturally gives rise to problems, which is what happened. Okay, so the again, this is very interesting that when we are being anti-nature, we are seeing what is happening with our planet, and indeed, the hoarding and the I mean, we are just aware of how our recent tragedy has also brought light to a lot of problems that big multinational companies or companies that have very high profit margins are cutting corners, and so many innocent people who are actually at the end of at the end of the day, who are living their daily lives, are affected by it, you know. So yeah, I was just listening to how much these CEOs are paid, and it was very uh, thought provoking that what do they do with these amounts of money. So being anti-natural, that is a very wrong way that things can go, and indeed they can go wrong, and even affect people who are not just in your locale, but people who are actually in their own hometowns. I mean, a lot of people who are of outside origin also have passed. So yeah, I'm talking about the plane crash which is happened in Ahmedabad. So yeah, many people have pursued the state of samadhi in our country. When it came to giving evidence of their having achieved that state of samadhi, some have given it as well, albeit in a roundabout way. However, no one could clearly declare that I have achieved the state of samadhi. The result of it is precisely this, and I am its evidence. Then came the divine incarnations. All the documents of divine incarnations in human form are the ultimate flights of human imagination. Okay, this sentence can actually bring a lot of. All the documents of divine incarnations in the human form are the ultimate flights of human imagination. This was done only for the good, but it didn't result in good of all. This means it didn't result in evidence of resolution, prosperity, fearlessness, and coexistence. So, I think the peril of this is that Babaji wants every human to attain these very one, two, three, four words to its ultimate brim. And this is actually a very nice way actually to understand the whole of humanity to be existing with. So until and unless some sort of incarnation has achieved this, which it has not, for the whole of humanity I'm talking about, then that religion or that incarnation document is actually, in Babaji's words, what is the word he has used? Flight of imagination, right? Flights of human imagination. So they have actually tried as the humans in their times to sort of contain the masses with this kind of stories, but then at the end of the day, it has not resulted to the coming together as it's supposed to, or it has supposed to. Uh, it has actually created more and more divisions, rather, you know. Indivisible society and universal ordinariness could not be evidenced. So again, this is the another point that keeps on coming. If it were to achieve this, then I'm sure that this darshan would not have existed in the first place. So Yeah. Every human didn't become capable of testifying of having become wise. Everyone didn't achieve happiness, peace, contentment, and bliss. It is from this standpoint that I am talking about the failure of these efforts. Its opposite, materialism, talked of accumulation and comfort, which also didn't work, and that too has come to the brink of failure. Success comes only from humane consciousness. Yeah, the word success to its truest value, I think this is a very good sentence also, which is human consciousness, humane consciousness. Where does humane consciousness reside? It resides in Jeevan. So again, nothing far or nothing far and wide we have to go. We have an inbuilt sort of GPS, if that is the right word, to look in and internalize and see where we are going wrong. As long as we have understood all the orders and how they are coexisting, right? And that includes us. So, where does humane consciousness reside? It resides in Jivan, not in the body. Therefore, Freud, the person you mentioned, has nothing to do with Jivan. If sexual lust is all that Jivan desires, then this is already present in animals like dogs and cats. So, what was the need for the emergence of humans in the course of destiny? Okay, great question. So, Babaji has actually thrown out all the Freudian philosophy by just saying that had it been that important, then it is already there in the animal kingdom, right? So, what is the purpose of the humans to get to exist or to manifest in that sense? So, what is the need of the emergence of humans in the course of destiny? We pose this question. The only logical conclusion is that human existence has no purpose. How are humans different from animals then? The goal of humans is to become happy. To achieve happiness, they need resolution. No person can evidence prosperity without resolution. Prosperity without resolution is not possible. Therefore, we need to think about this. Upon thinking, I understood that humane consciousness comprises conscience, and sensitivity. Conscience has two aspects, knowing and believing. Sensitivity has also two aspects, recognizing and fulfilling. So, all efforts and propensities of sensorial living are based on bodily senses. Therefore, all decisions based on sensitivity will have temporary validity and they will not have continuity. So, here, what Babaji is trying to say is that animalistic instincts and indeed what we say that will be the need of the I think if you can read the example, it will be easier. For example, eating feels good, but one cannot keep eating all the time. Sleeping feels good, but one cannot sleep all the time. Likewise, there is no sensory activity that we could maintain forever in the same way. It needs to change repeatedly. It is not possible for humans to remain indulged in any sensory activity without change. So this is basically what it's saying. There is a need for continuous happiness, and that continuity cannot be found. That continuity of happiness cannot be found in sensory pleasures. So unlike animals, also they also do have sensory pleasures, and they are also in orderliness with them. I mean, we are seeing that they eat only when they are hungry. They are having their population multiplied when the seasons is right, when the environment is right, and they are also sleeping. There is no specific uh, timetable that they are not following. Everything is happening in orderliness, right? So why do we have this complication? This is meant to orient humans towards humane consciousness. The transient nature of sensitivity is such a wonderful provision in humans, serving as an alarm, an inspiration, and a direction for their awakening. Okay, so humans are supposedly given this sensitivity, which is an inspiration and an alarm and a direction for their awakening, right? This applies to both you and me. When this awakening arises in you and when you will testify to it, that is for you to think about. So let me just read what we had said. Conscience has two aspects, knowing and believing. Sensitivity has two aspects, recognizing and fulfilling. So here, humane consciousness comprises of these four, how shall I put it, four elements, right? Now, janna, manna, and pehchanna and nirvah karna. So, janna, manna is knowing and believing. Pehchanna or nirvah karna means recognizing based on the relationships, I believe, and fulfilling accordingly, right? So, this happens within humane consciousness. This is what humane consciousness is supposedly to be. So, in that order, human animals don't have this, and humans are having this. So this is the sensitivity that we are having, and this is an inspiration also and a direction for awakening. That is what this sensitivity is attributed with. Yeah, understanding this is our responsibility. I have accomplished all this, so it is natural for me to feel thrilled. It is so systematic. With a bit of thoughtfulness, anyone can grasp this. On that basis, it became clear that the sensitivity is transient, transient, while what we want is the continuity of happiness. We get a glimpse of happiness, but there is no realization of happiness through sensitivity. Our thirst is for happiness, which cannot be quenched without realization. Realization is continuous, it does not break apart. On this basis, it was needed for the continuity of happiness. The transience of sensations is natural and part of their inherent order. Based on this, we could evaluate its true value. So, sensations were actually natural, and this is how, like, I'm just having a very easy example. You must have seen the diesel engines, the way they start, right? They actually um, uh, like the compression is actually let go of, and they rotate the flywheel, and at a particular revolutions, like say whatever it may be, like 10 revolutions per minute or something, they disengage the compression, and then the engine starts on its own and it starts firing, right? So the you can assume that the sensations are the initial dynamo that or the initial um, revolutions that is needed for that flywheel to catch speed or the engine to start. And then once, like when we get a hold of the happiness from the sensories, then we start looking for continuity of the same, right? So that's how the engine, for example, needs continuity to run. So for that, it has to rely on the fuel rather than the input of the human being who is rotating the flywheel, right? So I hope I'm trying to deliver what I wanted to deliver, because basically we always see these engines, especially the ones who are uh, removing the juice from the sugar cans. We see these sort of engines running there, and this is how basically it is. So the sensory pleasures are there to start, like a dynamo initial starting of the engine, and then once we are hooked onto that, we start looking for its continuity, and then existence had planned that we would start to look for its complete continuity, and then we start to recognize the relationships and the mulias, and then we start to, as it said, the humane consciousness, right? Fulfilling, recognizing, knowing, and believing. We once we understand all these things, basically it's all about understanding, right? And then we are basically now on running on fuel and having a continuity as the engine keeps on taking on fuel and continuously firing, and then just like as the four values of the humane consciousness are being fulfilled every time, every action, every thought that we do is in line with orderliness. So I hope I have conveyed a little bit of clarity with this example. um, we get a glimpse of happiness, but there is no realization of happiness through sensitivity, right? Our thirst is for more, for happiness, which cannot be quenched without realization. Realization is continuous; it does not break apart. On this basis, it was needed for the continuity of happiness. The transience of sensations is natural and part of the inherent order. Based on this, we could evaluate its true value. After this, I found the meaning of conscience, which is when all activities of Jivan become infused with realization. This itself is humane consciousness. So again, the activities being the 10 activities of the Jivan, right? And then if they are infused with realization, so basically again, Adhyan is the very way of making this happen. By Adhyan, I mean by understanding. This itself is humane consciousness. When they get infused with realization, that is called humane consciousness or awakened consciousness. I have myself realized it. I impart its study to you. I can only be achieved through dedicated study. Sorry, it can only be achieved through dedicated study. Reading and reciting this repeatedly can aid in understanding. So again, this is just the introduction. As we said, this is the introductory book. Imagine the books that are there to follow are actually having this depth of realizations of everything actually in existence, right? So yeah, anybody else wants to add to this? I'm just going ahead, but if you want to add to it or to have a question, one can do so. Okay. Understanding Jivan establishes the foundation of humane consciousness. Understanding Jivan establishes the foundation of humane consciousness. When humane conduct is understood, it forms the basis of humane tradition. Without understanding humane behavior and humane conduct, humane tradition is not going to happen. Okay. So this is again a point where we can pause. Uh, Humane conduct needs to be understood, so that can happen through a person who is already uh, living humanely and then imparting that knowledge. As it said here, understanding Jivan establishes the foundation of humane consciousness. When humane conduct is understood, it forms the basis of humane tradition. So by tradition, it means that continuity of the humane conduct. And this is going to happen through education. So that's the very important point that I wanted to mention here, that the human tradition is going to happen with education, right? Human conduct is universally consistent across all times and places. It combines values, character, and ethics. Character entails rightfully owned wealth, marital faithfulness, and kindness in action and behavior. So, three things that are connected with humane conduct is values, character, and ethics. So the character is rightfully owned wealth, marital faithfulness, and kindness in action and behavior. Ethics involve the right use and protection of body, mind, and wealth. Ethics involve the right use and protection of body, mind, and wealth. So we had actually discussed that wealth is actually not money but things, and by things it means that like for example anything that is towards the continuity of the human evolution, that is part of that wealth. So anything that any stuff that we can say on this earth which adds to the human consciousness development or evolution is part of the wealth. It can be a simple thing as a water or a house or anything that is connected with something which is part of this earth. So, right use, that is again linked with this. So, right use of the body, right use of the mind, and right use of the wealth. So, that is called ethics, right? And values are about evaluation and achieving mutual satisfaction in relationships. So, again, the values are like trust, love, affection, and all these nine mulyas. I think those are the ones which are being talked about here, and how they will be used, not used, but they will be, once the relationships have been recognized, then they will be uh, fulfilled. That's the right word. I think the values will be fulfilled according to that relationship. The goal of Jeevan is happiness, and human goal is resolution, prosperity, fearlessness, and coexistence. Ethics are essential for achieving these goals and give them purpose. This applies equally to values and character. We experience unhappiness when there is lack of character, unethical behavior, and disregard for values. So again, what is inhumane can be said to be this very thing: a lack of character, unethical behavior, and disregard for values. So therefore, living with values, character, and ethics is essential, is the essence of humane conduct and intrinsic human nature. So if again, this is a very interesting crossroads. If the earth is the way it is right now, then the human nature is also at question, because uh, humane conduct and human nature are supposedly to be the same. And if the humane conduct is not there, then we cannot say that we are humans also. So this is what it means: intrinsic human nature is to have humane conduct, right? And so if we don't have this humane conduct, we cannot even classify ourselves as humans. Rather, we would then go to and fall to the Pashu Manav or the Rakshas Manav, or we can say the maligned man, or the animalistic man. And that is the reason that we are having all these problems, right? To live in this manner, one needs knowledge of existence, Jeevan, and humane conduct. Okay, so completely compressed down to that, what is this knowledge? That is knowledge of existence, which is of the four orders, and knowledge of the Jivan, which is basically a part of the coexistence of the body and the Jivan, and how its 10 activities are interacting with one another. Basically, the Ban Vritti, Chit, Buddhi, and Atman, how they are how their two activities are interacting with everything else. And humane conduct. So humane conduct, again, we had seen that it was about um, character, uh, right character, value, and ethics. So that is what's called humane conduct. But I think a lot of clarity is happening as we reach the end of this book. Everything seems to be falling into its place, and every sentence now, for example, this sentence itself is quite summarizing in itself. To live in this manner, one needs knowledge for existence, Jeevan, and humane conduct. What is knowledge? Okay, we are visiting again. What is knowledge? Knowledge and believing constitute knowledge. It is only after knowing and believing that one seeks the point of satisfaction. If we neither know nor believe, why and where would we search for the point of satisfaction? For instance, we know and believe in Delhi, which allows us to make plans to visit Delhi. If we neither know nor believe in Delhi, how could we make such plans? Similarly, we believed in the existence of the moon, and we have reached there. We undertake many efforts to reach the point of satisfaction that comes from knowing and believing. The main proposition here is that coexistence is understood from understanding existence. Thereupon, humane conduct emanates. again. So the main proposition here is that coexistence is understood from understanding existence. Thereupon, humane conduct emanates. So, by seeing and understanding the existence itself, we can actually see how the humane conduct is happening every time, every place in the existence. Psychology of humane consciousness explains all these. Additionally, I have seen 122 conducts in Jeevan. How many of these 122 conducts happen in Man? How many in Vritti? How many in Chitta? How many in Buddhi? And how many in Atman? I have tried to explain it. What is its purpose? The purpose is that one listens and gradually understands. They seek the point of satisfaction achieved through realization. This process then enables one to impart enlightenment to others. Right. So this is not about just being in this understanding and indulge into this understanding, but then the process then enables one to impart enlightenment or this knowledge rather to others. Our understanding is evidenced by our ability to enlighten others. So the fact that we know how to do something or to prepare something is that we can teach somebody else. So this is another example that Babaji used to give, that the knower will teach the seeker. So if somebody is curious enough and having the same sort of question, then the answer would be, and the fact that the person has already understood, and they will be able to evidence it through teaching the other or enlightening others, as it said here. Teaching others demonstrates our comprehension. Very interesting. So, our own comprehension that we do we know exactly is is given a tick mark in sorts when we teach others, right? So, our health is evidenced by our ability to help others become healthy. Our wealth is evidenced by our ability to help others become wealthy. This is a simple way of becoming social. So, our health is evidenced by our ability to help others become healthy. Our wealth is evidenced by our ability to help others become wealthy. This is a simple way of becoming social. Thus far, humans have only lived within the pure view of sensitivity. Hence, the issues of accumulation, comfort, revolt, rebellion, and exploitation have kept coming up. Thus, the essence of psychology of humane consciousness is understanding Jeevan's activities. When we believe for knowing, then we start living based on knowing. And as we go about recognizing and fulfilling, we become just, regulated, balanced, and happy. This sums up the purpose of psychology of human consciousness. Sorry, humane consciousness. Very deeply mentioned, and how exactly what basically Babaji has nullified that there is no such thing as Freudian psychology or any sorts of thing, because it's completely linked with what the animal way of thinking it is limited at, and what humane consciousness is actually summed up here. It's about knowing, believing, recognizing, and fulfilling. And humane conduct is about values, character, and ethics, right? So nothing that connects with that with animals in sense. So mm, nice way of putting it, actually, very straightforward and to the point. We still have some time. Can read one more question. I believe this is the last question, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, so we're actually on the last question. Let's see if we can finish this. But it's not such a hurry. We can take one more episode. There are thousands of medical practices on earth, and a lot of human effort and money have gone into these. In spite of this, the health of human race is still poor, despite massive investments and the development of advanced instruments. The number of diseases is only increasing. New diseases are emerging constantly. The old techniques do not achieve the results they claim, and modern techniques also do not deliver on their promises. In light of this, how do we recognize health and resistance and restraint according to Jeevan Vidya? Okay. So the question again is, in this light, how do we recognize health and restraint according to Jeevan Vidya? What do we what you have described is a concern of almost everyone. All these efforts are aimed at specialization. However, specialization is like a monster. It can be as destructive as a demon. The belief that we are specialists, therefore whatever we say is right, has resulted in numerous offenses, especially against those who are ill. When patients try to explain their ailments, doctors often prefer to rely on machines rather than to listen to them. Very interesting. So this is actually a very troublesome problem that we have every time a person is found sick or having an issue. One needs the basic thing that one needs is the blood report and the urine report, and that's how they start with the diagnosis itself. So instead of listening to the person, we start relying on the machines. Machines cannot understand human suffering. Only a human can truly listen to and comprehend another's human's pain. Therefore, accurate diagnosis cannot be achieved solely through the use of instruments. In the past, the attempts by some people to diagnose ailments through Ayurveda, Unani, and other methods based on the knowledge of the pulse were commendable. They tried to identify illnesses by observing the rate, pressure, flow, strain, and tension of the pulse, which was praiseworthy. However, over time, doctors found pulse diagnosis challenging and shifted towards the ease of instrumental diagnosis. So, one would argue that the instrumental diagnosis was there because the humans also had the greed, and we started to, for example, sue the doctors once they were not able to diagnose it properly. So then the doctors again, to save uh, their reputation, they said that okay, now we will rely on instruments for diagnosing. So I think it's a two-way blade that has happened. First, Ayurveda was, in fact, even today, Ayurveda is rejected completely by the West, especially. It has no credential, and sometimes this is because of doctors who call themselves as quack doctors. There's another word for that, quack doctors. They basically mushroom up anywhere in a village, and they proclaim themselves to be medicinal or herb people of herbs and all those kind of things. And sometimes they have lost their reputation, or they mix up the reputation with the other good ones, other good doctors, other good Ayurvedic practitioners, and this is what happens, So instruments become more profound than any human can express. Uh, and in fact, sometimes the human being is so, how can I say it, so ignorant that if you have a very specialized instrument, and if you check them, like for example, if you go to a doctor and they check your blood pressure with this device, automated device, or maybe they, use the pump and check your blood pressure, you certainly feel that that person or that doctor is qualified. And that is again how we are uh, judging, and compared to the person who is checking your pulse, we find them to be how do you say it, backward, or mm, ancient technology and all those things. So technological reliance is also expected by the normal person. That's another issue also altogether that's creating this problem actually. Now everyone wants to use instruments to diagnose and understand disease. Decisions based on instruments fail to satisfy the patients, and the doctor remains distant from recognizing the root cause of the disease. When it comes to drug discovery, research, and advancements in medical science, it often misses the point. What needs to be observed is the holistic sustainability or adversity of these treatments for patients. But this is not always the case. So the holistic sustainability or adversity of these treatments for patients. So holistic sustainability is very important. We need to know the person wholly, basically their mind, body, and that's how we're supposed to give the diagnosis or the prescription instead of just knowing the body. So that is very important here. Specialists have become stuck in the pursuit of comfort and accumulation. A specialist in a big city prescribes the same medicine and treatment as a small town doctor but charges 100 times as much. Patients too think that a doctor who charges more is better. See, this is the exact thing that I was saying. If you take the pulse before even asking any question, you are regarded as a better doctor than one doctor who would take the pulse. So yeah, I mean, if you use an instrument to take the pulse, the pressure, and then that is a better doctor, right? The ones who is using the instrument. Do you see this madness? Thirdly, they have never tried to think holistically in medical science, meaning they have never thought of being true doctors. They have never even tried. Holistic medical science means to first recognize the state of good health. Thereafter, we assess the state of ailment, which is done by reading the pulse of the patient. Then, upon matching it with the patient's symptoms, the disease is diagnosed and the treatment is given. If the treatment is successful, our understanding will be considered right. Otherwise, it is considered wrong and further research is needed. This is in contrast with what is prevalent today, where the doctors say that they are right irrespective of the success or failure of their treatment. Right. So this is very interesting that even after the treatment has failed, the doctors are still saying that they had followed the procedure because they are relying on instruments, and instruments is not the complete and all picture that we are getting from, So this lack of accountability is dangerous. So holistic medical science is coming together of diagnosis of disease, assessment of the state of ailment, identification of medicines, identification of potency and combination of medicines, identification of how the medicine is to be administered, identification of the patient's state of mind. This is another thing which is not actually considered. Identification of the diet regime, identification of the restraint that the patient needs to follow, like what he should or she should avoid, right? Then identification of the way treatment is to be given. Any disease can be treated fully with yoga and medicine. Okay, this is very bold statement. I think it's time in coming that we actually understand this, that any disease can be treated fully with yoga and or medicine. For as long as these nine uh, ways of prescribing it are followed, I think that's very important, right? Especially the state of mind. Most of the diseases we have are psychosomatic disorders, and even that is also part of the disease today. But this is just a state of mind that is having the issue. The other types of the other two types in Ayurveda, gem therapy and mantra therapy, have limited use. Gem therapy only talks of rays and radiations. Mantra therapy primarily affects the mind. Medicine is the most potent way of treating diseases as it dissolves in bodily fluids. Okay, so another way of looking at medicines also, which is gem and mantra, which are also not so potent, but yes. The body has an inherent orderliness and knowledge, and the knowledge of healing it from diseases is intrinsic to it. Doctors often force treatments upon the body rather than assisting it in its natural healing process. What should a doctor do? They should support the body's inherent order by providing suitable substances that strengthen the body's condition. This is true skill, wisdom, and science of a physician. With such approach, we can overcome diseases. Therefore, we should move away from specialized medicine and make it universally accessible. Okay. So here I think it's saying that we should all move towards holistic medicine, right? Health pertains to the body while restraint pertains to the mind. Restraint is based on law, justice, regulation, and balance. Mentality that operates in a balanced and just manner is known as restraint. Okay. So the balance is very crucial here, right? The mental state has to be balanced, and that is known as restraint. What is the remedy for this? Understanding is the remedy. Imbalance and mental disorders arise from the lack of understanding, while balance comes from understanding. Understanding encompasses the entire orderliness and balance. Okay, what a great way of ending this book. That understanding, even be it for the health and for the Jeevan for that matter, also, the understanding encompasses the entire orderliness and balance. So we have to understand everything, and everything can be understood. So that is what Babaji has ended with, at least for the introduction. May there be universal well-being. Okay. So there we are. We have completed the introduction today of the Jeevan Vidya book. And yes, I think it was a great experience all in all. Definitely, I would say that I have gained much momentum into this direction. I have also gained a lot of clarity and a lot of uh, inspiration to continue this work in this line. And because the more I see it, the more emergence of it is being asked upon, and the curious people who are like, for example, if I would look at myself 5 years ago or even 10 years ago, I would have gotten very happy knowing that this darshan has the answers to everything. And since it is just explaining that existence is coexistence in a more deeper and deeper way by the all the books that are there, I am finding it very relaxing to gain this wisdom, to gain this understanding. And I hope that you all who are watching now and will watch it later also will do the same and feel the same. And I hope that we do continue again in the future. Uh, it would be great if you can leave a comment in YouTube after this ending of this video, so that we can also know how many people have gained some momentum with this also, this reading. And yes, as I said from before in the beginning only, this was actually nurturing for me, and I started reading it for myself actually, and I think I accomplished that with the help of you all. I think we are also going to be on the same page, and it's not going to be far that we actually have this understanding. As it said, always keep on understanding and have the understanding within yourself, within your Jeevan, that we have this in this life itself, and it will give us uh, great ways of engaging with people again in a more deeper and connected way. I think that's what's important. You know. Okay, thank you very much. And yes, if there's something else, we'll start. I'll keep it posted in the group. It was a wonderful experience to date. We hope to meet again. Thank you very much. Namaste.